They told you it's burnout. They lied. It's nurse trauma. Your body never lied. The system did. I'm Dr. Lorre Laws. Let's heal that root cause. A nurse with 22 years of clinical care experience messaged me last week after reading my newsletter. She wrote 3 sentences that I just haven't been able to shake. What she wrote was, I've been written up twice in the same month for advocating for safe staffing. And then I was written up twice, once for not being a team player, and the other time for not being a culture fit. She went on to describe how her unit floated her to other parts of the hospital where she didn't have any training or experience in that particular specialty. They moved her parking space arbitrarily and without notice to the garage furthest from the hospital. After getting the cold shoulder and a deep sense that something wasn't right, she just put in her resignation. She told me she's going back to bartending, where she makes more money anyway. 22 years of a nursing career, gone. Not because she burned out, not because she stopped caring, because the system made it impossible for her to stay in practice and remain who she truly is as an experienced, seasoned nurse who is advocating for her patients as required by policy and law. And she's not alone, not even close. Today, I'm going to show you and tell you all about what is really happening to the nursing workforce. And I promise you, once you see the numbers, you will never say the word nursing shortage again. So let's get into it. There is a manufactured nursing shortage, quote unquote. Every headline says the same thing, nursing shortage, nursing shortage, nursing shortage. Well, that's just another lie. In the United States, we have over 5.6 million active RN licensed right now, more than any other point in history. The 2024 National Nursing Workforce Study confirms this, the largest and most comprehensive nursing workforce study has ever conducted. There were over 800,000 nurses that were surveyed. There is no shortage of nurses. There is no shortage of nurses, but there is a hemorrhage. Healthcare is bleeding nurses from both ends of its pipelines, new graduates at one end and experienced nurses at the other, and no one in leadership is being honest about why. The word shortage lets the system off the hook, just like the word burnout does. The word shortage implies that there just simply aren't enough nurses to go around. The problem is supply, that if we just train more nurses, then the crisis will resolve. But that's not what's happening here. What is happening is a staffing crisis, and the system itself created it. So right now we are experiencing what I like to call the new grad bleed. For decades, the model was simple. Burn and churn new grads. Keep pumping new grads into the system. They're young, eager, idealistic, and often too inexperienced either in nursing or in their professional development to understand the game, the big picture. They're too new to understand how to ask and question the policies, and they're too grateful for their job to push back. And when they broke, well, from a leadership perspective, we'll just replace them with the next cohort. We'll have new grads again in May. But that model is collapsing. Now what we have is within the first year of their practice, 1 in 3 new grad nurses, early career nurses, they leave. 34% turnover among first-year nurses, according to the 2024 NSI National Healthcare Retention and RN Staffing Report. That is a massive number. And for those who somehow managed to survive and white-knuckle their way through that first transition to practice year, well, over half of them are gone by the end of their second year. It takes a lot for a nurse to qualify, enter, and complete a nursing program. They survive a gauntlet of clinicals, boards, and their first code. And then within 24 months, most of them are gone. These new graduates are not weak. They're paying attention. Their nervous systems are appropriately responding to what the system is asking them to endure. Their bodies are saying no. So let's just take a quick pause right here, because your body has probably been sending you signals, messages, trying to tell you the truth of what is going on in your own practice. So find out what your body is saying. Take the free nurse trauma assessment under 2 minutes, and I will send you a personalized report that shows the real root cause of what you're experiencing and what you can do next. Go to drlorrelaws.com/assessment and take your free nurse trauma assessment today. Now let's get back into it. We have the new grad bleed, and we also have the experienced nurse exodus. We're going to look now at the other end of the pipeline. 40% of all registered nurses in the United States tend to leave the workforce or retire within the next 5 years. This finding comes again from the 2024 NCSBN National Nursing Workforce Study. the one that had over 800,000 nurses surveyed. Almost half of them said they are planning to leave the profession. And this is a trend that keeps getting worse. Since 2022, over 138 nurses have already walked away. In 2024 alone, 287,300 staff nurses terminated their hospital positions in 1 year. In 2025, NSI report confirms that hospitals responded by hiring 385,000 nurses to backfill and attempt to grow staffing. They had to hire nearly 100,000 more nurses than they lost just to tread water with the current trends. So that is a big number. Hospitals had to hire over 100,000 more nurses than they need just to keep the lights on. And it gets worse. If we look at this by unit, we see that step-down, tele, emergency departments, and the cumulative turnover rate over the past 5 years is between 113 and 121% in these departments. In 2025, NSI report states that it plainly, these departments turn over their entire nursing staff in less than 4.5 years. Every single nurse gone, replaced, gone again. That's the cycle. The nurses leaving are not the ones who stopped caring. No nurse stops caring. They are the ones that cared so much that they could not keep participating in a system that was harming them and their patients. And among those who reported why they were leaving, the number one reason beyond retirement was stress and burnout, which we all know is actually nurse-specific trauma. The other reasons given for leaving were excessive workload, understaffing, and inadequate salary. Now, I know you know what I'm already going to say. This is not a burnout thing. It's nurse-specific trauma. And they are leaving because it has become physiologically contraindicated for most nurses to remain in practice under these conditions. There, I said it. So what that leaves us with is if we have both ends of the pipeline that are hemorrhaging, new graduate and early career nurses aren't staying, and experienced nurses are in a state of mass exodus, well, that leaves us with the middle of the pipeline. And that pipeline is what I call the broken middle. And it's the part that no one's really connecting. When new grads leave within 2 years and experienced nurses are exiting in mass numbers, what's left? A hollowed out and broken middle. Nurses with 3 to 7 years of experience, roughly, are now carrying the weight of their entire units, functioning as de facto charge nurses, preceptors, mentors, all without the title, the compensation, or the support that they need. They are the last line of institutional knowledge on units that have turned over their entire staff multiple times. They are the nurses I hear from the most, the ones that are stuck in the middle. They're too experienced to be naive about what the system is doing, and they're too early in their careers to retire. They have too much student loan debt to career pivot, too much invested to walk out without a fight, and yet they're too exhausted to keep fighting. The system is counting on their sense of duty to keep them in place. It is weaponizing their compassion, their commitment, and their nervous system against them. And when these nurses finally start to push back, when they advocate for safe staffing ratios, when they challenge a policy, when they refuse to accept a dangerous assignment that puts their license and their patients at risk, well, the system has a playbook for that too. It's the real cost. Let's look about the real cost of what turnover is costing the organization in what matters to them most, which are the Benjamins, the dollars. So the average cost of turnover for a single staff nurse is now just over $61,000. And it takes an average of 83 days to recruit an experienced replacement. The average hospital is losing between $3.9 and $5.8 million annually to nurse turnover alone. But as we all know, the real cost is not just the dollars. The real cost is the nurse who is in the clinical setting tonight, running 6 to 8 patients with no backup, practicing with dangerous staffing ratios. It's the early career nurse who is overextended and stretched beyond capacity, and their mentor, while doing their best, is stretched beyond their capacity. It is the nurse who has not slept well in months, whose nervous system has been in sympathetic overdrive for so long that clinical judgment is compromised before the shift even starts. The real cost is measured in human lives, nurse lives, patient lives, and the lives of the families who love them both. This is not a nursing shortage. This is a system that has made it dangerous for nurses to stay and then blames them for leaving. What do they do to the ones who stay? Well, next week, I'm going to tell you what happens to experienced nurses who refuse to leave quietly, the ones who are advocating, who see the big picture, that they're pawns on this massive chessboard, and they're starting to challenge and whistleblow. And I'm going to tell you exactly how the system is silencing them and actually pushing them out of the profession. It's the most dangerous thing happening in healthcare right now, and it has a name that we will unpack in next week's episode. So as we bring this podcast to a close, I need to hear from you. Are you an experienced nurse who has been pushed out? Have you been written up for advocating or questioning a policy? Have you been floated to a unit outside of your specialty and experience as punishment? Has your schedule changed after you raised concerns? Send me a DM, or you can email me at team@drlorrelaws.com and tell me what happened. I read and respond to every email and message personally. Your story matters. And if you know a nurse who is living this right now, please share this episode with them. They need to know that they are not alone and that they are not the problem. So do you want to know what the science is behind what actually works? Well, download the free chapter from my best-selling book, Nursing Our Healer's Heart, at drlorrelaws.com/book. There you'll get a free book chapter, links to where to buy the book anywhere worldwide, and also downloadable summaries for the activities at the end of each chapter. From my healer's heart and to yours. And with that, from my healer's heart to yours, and until next time, namaste.